Here's what's coming today on the Woodworking Network podcast.
It's a discredit to our employees, ourselves, our families, and to our clients if we're not making a decent profit to stay in business to take care of them the next time too.
Welcome to this episode of the Woodworking Network podcast. Join us as we explore the business of woodworking, big and small, and what it takes to succeed. I'm Will Sampson. Today's episode is sponsored by the Executive Briefing Conference. We'll be talking with Kenneth Kumph, owner of Premier Builders in Georgetown, Massachusetts, and the new president of the Cabinet Makers Association. But first, I want to talk about trustworthy advice. In a world where we are constantly bombarded with new information from countless sources, the one thing it seems we are always short of is trustworthy advice. I'm not talking about trusting the science or listening to all the talking head experts on the news channels. I'm talking about the kind of trusted advice that comes from someone who has actually, as the saying goes, been there and done that. All that is especially crucial when it comes to running your business. It never ceases to amaze me as I visit woodworking shops all over the country, how few of the owners and managers regularly step outside the confines of their own facilities to see how other shops do things or talk to other owners and business people. This is especially more of a problem as the shops get smaller. Then the likelihood that the owner has little or no formal business training goes way up. For that matter, the owner and staff might have learned their woodworking on the job through the school of hard knocks. Now, don't get me wrong, I started out learning that way too, but I can't count the number of times I encountered a better way and slapped my head that I had not been doing it that way for so long. Why don't woodworking business owners step out of their shops to learn what they don't know? I've struggled over that question because I know some who do. It seems the ones who stay isolated have a number of common traits. The more they work, the behinder they get. So they figure they don't have time to leave the shop. They've been in business long enough that they figure they know what they are doing and don't need any help. They don't realize that even successful shops can be more successful. And in some cases, they're embarrassed or afraid if someone will find out how little they actually do know. When I helped found the Cabinet Makers Association in 1998, we were constantly encountering all of those issues. Shop owners were afraid to network with other shop owners because it might give away all of their trade secrets. But a few smart and brave shop owners did start talking to each other. They started helping to solve each other's problems. They started doing business with each other as they discovered most shops have specialties they can do more efficiently and more profitably. Why not outsource to them or at least learn to improve your operation? Small miracles began to happen as shop owners became smarter and networked more, not only with their peers, but also in their communities. They gained strength in numbers and knowledge. Their businesses prospered, even when disasters struck. They discovered a network of people ready to help them. People they could trust to give them straight answers, even to questions they were afraid to ask. And pretty soon, they found they were offering similar trustworthy advice to other shops. They learned you can still be independent and grow together if you build the right network, a network of trust. Before we get to our interview with Ken Kumph, let's pause for a word from our sponsor. EBC is a superior opportunity to learn, be inspired, and have face-to-face interchanges with top leaders in the woodworking industry. The 2021 EBC will be held September 8th through 10th at the spectacular Broadmoor in Colorado Springs. In addition to top speakers and presentations, there will be tours of Concepts in Millwork and the Mill Woodworking Training Facility. It's an unparalleled opportunity to obtain business intelligence to improve your enterprise while networking with the industry's brightest stars. You can learn more at executivebriefingconference.com. Now let's get to my interview with Ken Kumph, president of the Cabinet Makers Association, recorded live at the AWFS Fair. Hello, everybody. This is Will Sampson from Woodworking Network and FDMC Magazine. We are live at AWFS doing the Woodworking Network podcast. And I am very excited to have as my guest today Ken Kumph, who is the new president of the Cabinet Makers Association, and he operates Premier Builders in Georgetown, Massachusetts. Welcome to the Woodworking Network podcast, Ken.
Thanks, Will. I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity to see you again and to be part of this podcast.
Yeah, I was at your shop not terribly long ago, pre-COVID, but you've got a great operation. Now, you started out as a general contractor, right?
Correct. Yeah, we still are a general contractor. We're in our 36th year in business, and I think it's our 22nd or 23rd year with Premier Builders. So we started Premier Builders in 1986, doing remodeling and new home construction, all custom work, and it evolved into adding the custom millwork and cabinetry part of our operation. It's really become a significant piece of our business.
What prompted you to add the cabinet shop to the business?
I always had a personal interest in doing woodworking and cabinet making, and as our projects were getting bigger, we're getting recognized by some architects and designers. We kind of found the need to do it ourselves in a way, and that's kind of always been my way. So I really enjoyed cabinet making in high school. It was one of the few elective courses that I really enjoyed taking. So it just kind of grew from that, and I took it seriously, and it became a big part of our business, like I said.
That's great. About how many people do you have in the cabinet side of the operation?
So we're typically just around 20 employees total. Right now I think we're at 19. A couple girls in the office that help run the construction company in the cabinet business. But we have 7 full-timers in the shop right now. We have Kurt as our shop manager. I have Mike on the floor, Gary in the, it's a small company, so we got a pretty good crew over there.
It seemed like that when I visited. They're really, really top-notch folks and doing top-notch work, too. Now, how long have you been involved with the Cabinet Makers Association?
So I was just trying to think of that. I think it's past 12 years now since I first, I believe I saw him at one of the trade shows, signed up at very reasonable costs, it still is, and got involved. I wasn't, wasn't at the forefront all the time, but I'd get some occasional memos or see them at a show. I got to meet a few colleagues, got to learn a little bit about what they're doing in their business and so forth. But what really kicked me off was the summit we had in Colorado, out in Denver. We had an anniversary summit out there, which I saw you there, and I was very, very impressed with the whole group, the organization, the quality of the people. And I walked up to Amanda and said, "Hey, how can I get more involved?"
Yeah, Amanda is the executive director of the association.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, well, to me, always the appeal, and I was, of course, involved with the CMA at the very beginning as the first executive director. But what the whole thing is networking and getting involved with other shops. It seems like too many woodworking shops are too insular, and they don't get out and don't meet people, and they really don't know what's going on in their industry.
I agree, and I imagine that's true in almost any business. And with entrepreneurs, we think that we're good at doing something which is more task-oriented, but we have to run a business as well. And to your first point there, I want to thank you for getting this whole thing started. I know you're one of the founders of CMA, and your name comes up at just about every event, and we always get a chance to say hi. But what foresight for you and your other colleagues to say, hey, we need some help with learning from each other in this business, and that's really what I see has happened with this whole organization.
Well, it's I think it's a great organization, and I think that the value of networking is still something. It seems obvious to me, but it's something that seems to be need to sell it to the smaller shop guys, that they don't come out of their shop, they don't find out what's going on. You being a general contractor, probably a lot of the builders, they'll meet each other for breakfast before going out to the job site, and they know in their area who's building what and what what the jobs are going for and who's available to do work and all that kind of thing. Whereas the cabinet shop guys, they never come out of the shop, and they really don't even know what their competition is.
That may be true in some situations, and others, from what I'm learning, especially nowadays, is that we really do need each other to network. These Zoom meetings that we had to have because of COVID, it's actually helped connect us even more so. People from across the country can talk about their challenges, and like any group that starts to talk, we realize we're not in this alone, really, and I think it really attracts more people. There's people that work in their business, people that work on their business. My dad used to say, and he was in a totally different industry, but he used to say, you got to be out to be in, which really means you got to get out there and talk to some others. And sometimes it's just a small little thing, or I take it that most of the guys that are making cabinets know how to make cabinets. They may learn some tips or tricks along the way, but it's the business part of it that we all need to really learn, that we're running a business, even if it's a one-man business. And that's really kind of I don't want to call it the platform, but what my push is going to be is really to continue with that business education.
Well, most of them have no formal business education. They got into it because they liked making stuff, not because they wanted to start a business.
Exactly, and we don't want to lose that flair for what we do. There's a creative element to it. There's a lot of satisfaction in building anything, especially fine cabinets that people are going to use in their homes. So I think the more we can learn about the business part of it, it's going to be better for everybody. The one-man shops to the 20-man shops, I don't see. There's a lot of the same elements there that we all face, and it's just at a different level.
Yeah, what I tell a lot of the shop owners that don't have formal business training is that business is just another craft that they have to learn, and just like learning all of the things that they learn to be good woodworkers, they can learn the craft of business, and it will so much more improve their business and their own financial situation. To learn that, it can transform the whole business.
And that was my experience too. I call it the butt and the gut method. That's how I learned business. I go with my gut feelings, or I follow my butt and have to learn from it. But along the way, somewhere along the way, I got to understand my financials a little bit, even on the most basic level, on a per job basis. It's really not much different than on a whole company basis. You estimated a cost, it cost you something to build that, and you compare the two. And if there's money left over, you made money on that job. And an accumulation of those jobs, those successful jobs, will give you a nice profit and loss statement, which is nothing more than, how much came in, how much went out, and how much did it cost to turn the lights on? What's left for us?
Yeah, I think a lot of guys, they use what I call the checkbook P&L, where they just look in the checkbook at the end of the month and see if there's any money left over, and then I must have did okay this month.
I agree. And I think that's probably true, especially coming from the general contracting business and building homes and remodeling. It's the same thing. We like what we do. We like to build stuff. We like to service people with their needs for their homes. But we got to be around to service them later. It's a discredit to our employees, ourselves, our families, and to our clients if we're not making a decent profit to stay in business to take care of them the next time too.
Well, you can't stay in business if you don't make a decent profit, and that's the whole point. And it's nothing. I say profit is not a four-letter word, and that's exactly the case. And there's nothing wrong about learning how to make money while delivering a quality product on time or ahead of schedule.
And it's predictable. We can work with some systems and learn from others about how to predict what our profits could or should be, and then we can learn from that. I really see a shift that our businesses are professional. That they're up. Maybe it's because I'm hanging around with the colleagues at these shows and in the Cabinet Makers Association, but they're professionals. I don't think that they're small. The small businesses have any disadvantage, really. I think it's just learning the numbers, really learning the numbers on top of learning the craft.
Now, you've just been recently elected as the new president of the Cabinet Makers Association. Do you have any particular goals as president in this term?
Well, I'd certainly like to follow the legacy that you and your colleagues started and that's been carried along the way. I got to thank Chris Deemer, especially, and Amanda Conger, the executive director, but Chris is the outgoing president, I guess you'd call him, and he's going to stay around for another year to help me get some things under my feet. But I'd really like to continue with the education part of it, especially business education. Again, I think the making of cabinets and those techniques. The guys know what they're doing, or they can learn some tips and tricks along the way here and teach others. But I think the business part of it is where I want to focus. I want to help people have a good personal lifestyle because of their businesses. And I've been in business 36 years. I'm still working on that.
Well, that's great, and I wish you an awful lot of luck in doing this. I know I've enjoyed going to CMA's regional events, and now that we're getting back to meeting each other face to face, maybe we can have some more of those. And I know the CMA has a very active private forum on their webpage too, which is a great benefit of joining the organization.
Yeah, I just make a couple other real quick points on,
Sure.
On what we've got. It kind of started with COVID. How do we stay connected with our membership? And we've actually grown significantly through this whole COVID experience. And we started a Wednesday webinars, and we pick different subjects. Have one of our board members or another associate, some other members, speak to a particular subject. We'll do a little question and answer, and then we do a follow-up. And then we do, once a month, we do a what's your problem? What's the most significant problem we have that's challenging our industry as a whole? Again, we're not in it alone. There's others that are going through the same thing, and we can all offer each other a little advice and a little comfort through these things. So there's a lot of benefits to being with your peers and learning business with each other.
That's great, Ken. Well, I wish you a lot of luck, and sure I'll be visiting your booth at the show here, and one of these days I'll get back down to your shop in Massachusetts.
Can't wait. Well, thank you for the opportunity, and thanks for the Woodworking Network for letting us share some of our Cabinet Makers Association experiences.
Thank you.
That's it for today. If you're looking for more of our podcasts, you can find all of them at woodworkingnetwork.com/podcasts and in popular podcast channels. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Thanks again to today's sponsor, the Executive Briefing Conference. If you have a comment or topic you'd like us to explore, contact me at will.sampson@woodworkingnetwork.com. Thanks for listening.